Hey everybody, it's JJ Conway. I hope that you can hear me okay because I've got these amazing noise canceling headsets on. But then when I hit, oh, you people are nasty. Oh, sorry. I really hate people who put dog do on the thing and you're like, oh, well, I can't help where a dog goes. You know what? I had a dog growing up and you absolutely can. When you see them starting to squat, you can move them and yank that little leash and move them off the road, you know? And that's fresh too, so I'm trying to think of who did I just see with a dog? Hmm. Well, the last guy I saw with a dog was a little teeny tiny wiener dog. Doesn't make those kind of big logs. I'm trying to think of who else I saw, but I don't know. Maybe I'll see him on the way out. Okay, that is not at all what I wanted to talk about today. But, okay, target of opportunity. Seriously though, I have been doing some research, and hopefully y'all can hear me. It says my mic is green, but I've been doing some research on, different psychological things. I'm trying to wrap up this doctorate, and the waters of wrapping up my doctorate have gotten increasingly murky with the current um, administration and the changes in DEI policies and things like that. So I'm looking forward to working with my advisor to kind of chart a path forward. I'm not sure I'm going to like the path forward, but we need to get her done. You know, it's been 4 years now going on. This is like fifth year. We need to get her done. So, I'm presenting the field study. So if you've been a part of it, if you've been a part of my field study and you haven't already gotten an email from me, you're about to get an email from me with your transcript so you can tell me if I captured your thoughts correctly. All right? Please, please, sir, please, ma'am, please respond. On to today's topic, I've been doing this research on different mindsets. And one of the things I was really, really surprised about is that when it comes to a person who will abuse another person, when it comes to a person who will abuse another person, there are certain character traits that they look for. And I figured, one of those was going to be people pleasing, right? People are going to look for people who are people pleasing. Because if you want to take advantage of people, you want to find people who are more easily taken advantage of. But what I didn't realize is that some of the traits that we love about ourselves, and I have never heard anybody say, oh, I'm a people pleaser and I love that about myself. But some of the traits we love about ourselves actually lead us towards being a target. And so I'm not going to share the whole list, but I'm going to tell you, this was a long list. Excuse me. It was a long list. And other than the first one I'm going to give you, well, no, I'm not going to give you that one first. Here's at the bottom. Other than the last one that was on there, I checked all of the blocks, y'all. Okay. So the first one on this list of character traits that people look for when they are looking for somebody to manipulate and abuse and use for their own egotistic purposes is valuing love. Now that kind of makes sense to me because if I value love and I highly want to be loved, it's easier for you to string me along with just a few little droplets of love. Okay. And so somebody made a comment to me the other day that I tend to be really negative, and I appreciate, if you're listening, I appreciate you giving me that because sometimes I don't know how I come across, right? But they gave me that feedback, and what they were saying was that I tend to be super critical. But in the family that I grew up in, and in the populace of the East Coast, where I've lived for a lot of my life, I'm actually one of the nicer people. Hey, let me know if you can hear me. Give me a wow face if you can hear me, because I keep getting people come on and then leave, and I don't know if people are hearing me. Okay? Nope, they're gone too. Okay, anyway. So, on the context of the East Coast, I'm one of the nicer people. Hey, if you're watching and you can hear me, give me a wow face, because people keep jumping in and jumping off, which would imply that they can't hear me, and my mic shows that it's on. So, I just want to know, just give me a wow face, or something. So I know, well, not a like or love, because other people have been giving me likes or loves. Well, I did a class the other day. I taught a Bible study the other day. Had 120 something views. I'm like 4, 5, 6 likes and loves. And nobody told me that my mic was off. And then maybe a year or two ago, I taught a class. And people were commenting too. They were commenting how good it was and how much they loved my teaching and stuff. And I was 17 minutes into it before I realized I was muted. So I appreciate that there are people who love me that much that will hang on for 17 minutes while I'm talking unawares that I'm on mute. But I don't want that to be one of these points, because I really believe that what I have to tell you today is going to save lives, and it's going to save trauma. And that what I'm telling you today can actually help you prevent trauma in your life, because the very things that you think are something that is all about you, that's a wonderful trait, and it's what makes you a great person, those very traits could be what's attracting the next abuser into your life. Okay? Doesn't mean we change who we are, because I don't want to change who I am unless the Lord tells me to change who I am, But it does mean that we have to think about how we display who we are and how we evaluate the people that come into our lives. Okay, so the first one is loves love, which makes sense to me. They value love. They want to love and be loved. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because if I really want to be loved, especially if I grew up starved for emotion or affection, if I really want to be loved, I will take the droplets of affection that you give me, the crumbs of affection that you give me, and I will extrapolate from that a whole relationship that really doesn't exist. Similarly, if I just love love and value love, and I really don't have enough experience with love, or if a lot of my experience comes from rom-coms and Hallmark Channel, well then I might be a person who thinks that somebody loves me because they wine and dine me. Well, not wine me, I don't drink. But they take me out to nice restaurants, and they buy me flowers, and they text good morning beautiful, and they text good night gorgeous, and things like that, right? We might equate those, what I call checklist items, and it's not a bad term, because some of us are not very socially aware, and a social checklist helps, okay? Let's see. I'm getting a lot of air. Hopefully this will help y'all hear me a little better. Sometimes, some of us, I even told my son today, I had a 2-hour conversation with my college freshman. It was beautifully delicious. I fell into the mom telling him all the things he needs to do, and he started to go quiet. So I made something funny. I made it funny. And, hold on. Let me tie this down. I made it funny, and then he got to talking again, so I was happy about that. All right. But I even told him, I said, look, every 17 days, put into your calendar, reach out to so-and-so. Because he had somebody that he was wanting to reach out to more, and he was kind of mad at himself for not having done so. And I said, just put it in your calendar. He's going to engineering. So I imagine being an engineer mindset, well, hello there. We must a lot like scientists, some of those social things kind of take a back seat. If you're busy on a project and then you come home and you're tired and you're hungry, you eat, you go to bed, and you get up and you work on your project again. Doesn't mean you don't care about people, doesn't mean you don't love people, but sometimes we just don't show it. So in that sense, having a checklist is a good thing. But for someone who doesn't get a lot of love in their life, or they just really love love, and their experience with love is rom-coms and Hallmark, they look at those checklist items as love. He brings me flowers. He does this. She does that. She makes me cupcakes or whatever it is, And we equate those checklist items as love, but we don't actually stop to think about what's under the surface. Is there an actual love being displayed? Are those things being done out of caring and concern for the person that is receiving those efforts? Or are they being done out of caring and concern for the person who is performing those efforts? Good question. Okay. The next one on the list, and this also makes a lot of sense, is that person who is often targeted will generally have an element of compassion and caring. And compassion and caring was written separately, and they have some different nuances. But the bottom line is that a lot of people, people make a bell curve as far as any kind of behavior goes. And people on the outsides of that bell curve, we label in some way as having something wrong with them. Doesn't necessarily mean they have something wrong with them, but that means that they are different from the bulk of society, right? Well, the bulk of society, in the middle of the bell curve, in this big fat middle of the bell curve, the bulk of society, they care. They care. They care, but they don't care enough to put themselves out. And I'm not saying they should. I don't think you should. They don't care enough about the person down the street to get up off the couch or to make something different. If somebody drops something in the next lane over in the grocery store, they care, oh man, that's too bad. But are they going to inconvenience themselves to help? Probably not. Because most people aren't going to do that unless they know the person. Okay? But somebody who is compassionate and caring may leave their buggy, may risk somebody else with 3 buggies hopping in line in front of them and end up being late to their next appointment to help the person who dropped the jar of whatever. Either clean it up or call the folks from the store to come clean it up. And, you think, well, it's a nice thing to be a nice person. And actually being a nice person, guess what? Being a nice, decent, caring, and compassionate person is another one of those things. And the reason decency is on that list is because people who are decent people, or people who value being decent people, or people who consider themselves decent people, generally speaking, when you wrong them, now this does not apply to the younger generation, I'm going to just be upfront with you on that, okay? But for the most part, people my age or older, if you act a fool, we are going to cover your foolishness with grace, right? So you say something untoward while we're at the restaurant. You say something rude to the waiter. My son's generation might just call you out on the spot and pull out their phone and shame you in front of everybody, okay? But my generation and older is generally speaking not going to do that. And in fact, unless you really make a scene or a ruckus, we're going to wait till the waiter walks away and then maybe try to say something privately to you, And then if we can't get you to stop the behavior, we might try to make a quicker exit than we normally would have. We won't necessarily call you out in front of everybody because we consider ourselves to be decent people, and decent people cover or are gracious with the faults and frailties of others. So decency was on that list. And I don't know about you, but I think almost everybody on my Facebook friends list considers themselves a decent person, Another one, I'm going to tell you what, these next 3 really surprised me because I value all these things being a part of my personality. The next one that you find as a common thread amongst people who attract abusers into their lives, not saying it's their fault that an abuser comes into their life, but saying that this is a signal to a potential abuser that this might be a good victim to cultivate, to groom. And it's up to that person who exhibits these characteristics that I'm giving you today to understand that about themselves and take action so that when new people come into their lives, they can be aware, hey, I need to put some boundaries and tests in place to make sure that this person is coming into my life to have a mutually beneficial arrangement, whether it's a transactional business arrangement or perhaps a romantic relationship or a platonic friendship. You put those boundaries in place because you know this about yourself. It doesn't mean you're wrong because someone preyed upon you, but it means that there are actions you can take to minimize the success of people who are wrong in trying to prey upon you. So let me just say, this trait that is almost universal. I did not know this. I'm sure anybody watching me who works in the psychological field already knew this, but I did not know this, was a high moral compass. And you would think, if I want to take advantage of somebody or if I want to do somebody wrong, I'm not going to go after the person who values integrity and high standards and high moral compass and believes in doing the right thing. Because that kind of person, generally speaking, they're out doing good and they live their life with integrity. And I'm not going to be able to get in and worm my way in on that. But it's actually the fact that those people have the high moral compass and they walk in such integrity that this person is able to worm themselves in. Because the person starts off, they don't start off showing their true colors. And that's the thing that irritates me. You know, we're going into World Women's Day this Saturday, and I have a talk that I normally do for World Women's Day. And I don't know if I'm going to do it in the morning or how I'm going to do it, but I basically talk about financial abuse and people who know, or people who maybe they don't know, but this has just been their pattern of abusing people. They don't show you their true colors right off the bat. Like, you don't go on date one and they say, you know what, you're cute and you're gullible and you're a nice person. I'm going to isolate you from your family and friends. I'm going to eventually motivate you to quit your job and have no livelihood, so you'll be 100% dependent on me, and then I'm going to treat you like dirt. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to do all these things to you, and you have no recourse because I will have isolated you from everybody and everything that could help you get out of this situation. They don't say that. They don't do that. In fact, what they do is, oh, you're my soulmate. Oh, I've never met anybody like you. Oh, I've never had anybody care for me like you do. And they really lay it on thick. And again, your experience with love is that love is what they show you on the movies. And you think, oh, this person loves me. Until they get you hooked. And once they get you hooked, your strong moral compass keeps you, while you're enduring the abuse and while you're in the phase of, I can't believe this monster is really the person that I'm with. Like, I want to go back to my best friend, but you don't realize that the best friend doesn't really exist. This is why I get frustrated at a lot of people who talk about abuse, because they don't understand the cycle of abuse, and they don't understand how much devaluation and discard has gone into grooming you to be open to abuse, and that by the time you get to the point where he hits you, or by the time you get to the point where you have no job and no livelihood and no side businesses and no family and friends to support you, and then by the time you get to the point where you have no one to lean on by him, he has already, or she has already, done so much that it's almost a miracle to get out of that situation. And even if you get out, he or she is in your head telling you nobody else wants you, nobody else loves you, no one else will take care of you, everybody else is this and that and that, and they're all worse. Or worse, I will kill you, I will strangle you, I will make your life miserable, I will make you look bad in front of everybody. And so then that person, even if they're able to escape, often ends up going right back. And one of the number one reasons, at least for women, I haven't seen the stats on men. I honestly haven't looked. I probably should before I do this next broadcast. At least for women, the stats are that it's like 95% of women who are trapped in abusive marriages are trapped as a result or with a complication of financial abuse. They want to leave, but they can't. They don't have the resources. They don't have a job. They don't know how to get a job. They've been out of the workforce so long. Fill in the blanks, okay? So I don't want this list to appear to be victim shaming in any way, okay? If somebody does you wrong, they did you wrong. However, it's like going to the gym. It's like taking self-defense classes. I can't help the fact that when I walk down the street, I look like a middle-aged, overweight, frumpy mom. I try not to look too frumpy. I am trying to step up my looks game. But when you look at me, you don't know that I've taken unarmed combat. You don't know that I've taken several years of unarmed combat, you don't know that I likely have a few tricks up my sleeve. So if you look at me and you look at the thin, fit, muscles popping young lady, and you're looking for somebody to attack, you're probably choosing me. Well, I'm working on it. Y'all see me make these videos. Those of you who go to the gym, you see me at the gym. And now that we're not fasting, I'm there much more often. The teenager called today, and we talked for 2 hours. That's why I didn't go today. I was all ready to go too. I was excited because it's been a while, so I've enjoyed getting back into the gym these last 2 weeks. But I work on it. But you don't. But a potential attacker doesn't see that. So in a potential attacker's assessment of who would I potentially attack, I make a better target than someone who comes out looking like they just lifted 1,000 pounds, right? So I can't help that. The person chooses to attack me. I mean, I'm working on the physical, but in today, like at this moment, there's nothing else I can do. There's nothing more I can do, right? But what I can do is I can practice my unarmed combat skills. So that if someone does decide to try to make me a target, he can end up flat on the ground. And I can have a confidence that he will end up flat on the ground. What can I do is when I walk around and I see somebody I don't know, or, and we always think it's a stranger, but usually most assaults happen with somebody you know, or somebody that's got weird energy. I can remove myself from the situation. I can look him directly in the eyes like, I see you, and I can take a more aggressive stance, right? Like, don't mess with me, right? Those are things I can do. It doesn't mean the fact that if that person chooses to attack me, it's my fault that they attacked me. But I can do things to help myself better survive the scan of who is it I'm going to target. So if you are somebody who loves love, if you are somebody who's compassionate, if you are somebody who cares, if you are somebody who, what was the other one? Decent, you consider yourself a decent person. And if you have a high moral compass, and there's some more I'm going to give you, okay? There's more traits I'm going to give you. But the moral compass one really stopping me. If you know these things about yourself, you can say, okay, here are some boundaries that I can put in place. Here are some testing. Here is some testing I can do when I first meet somebody new, okay? And the thing about finding somebody with a moral compass, a strong moral compass, is while they are tolerating your abuse, they are unlikely to leave you. While they are tolerating your abuse, while they're trying to get back to who you were during the initial love bombing phase, while they're trying to figure out what happened and how my best friend turned into this monster, they are very unlikely to cheat on you because of their high moral compass. They are also very unlikely to do any other underhanded things to make your life miserable because of their high moral compass. Y'all, this smacked me in the gut last night when I was doing this research, okay? And so that's one of the traits that people actually look for, okay? Let me tell you another one that totally just boom. There's like a 1-2 knockout punch. There's actually a 3 knockout punch. 1, 2, 3. Number 3. I mean, not number 3. Number 3 for me is that the people, and I'm combining, they finished the changing of the path. Oh, I see. Okay. They changed the path. Okay. They took down the other path. Oh, it's a little more curvy now. Okay. Anyway, sorry, y'all. All right. Number 3, and I'm combining 2 here. So there's 2, and just like with caring and compassionate, they're 2 separate lists with 2 separate things. If I don't combine some of these, this video will be way longer than my walk. Nope. That is not a continuation of the trail. That is a parking lot. Well, how do I get to that part of the trail? All right, what am I missing here? I know they had the thing up for a while. It's gone. Am I just going to walk through the dirt? Well, there's no thing. I guess I will. Okay. The good thing these are my old sneaks. Okay, so anyway, some of these I have to combine because otherwise this video will be longer than my walk, right? I'm trying to get 3 miles every day. I honestly haven't been doing it while fasting like I wanted to, but here we are. So, best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is today. So, we're getting back into that. But at least I got out and walked. So in any event, I'm combining the need to understand truth. Okay. So there's a character trait of some of us that we really want to understand. We want to understand what's going on. If you are mad at me, and I have a personality, y'all, that people get mad at all the time, and I don't always understand why you're mad at me, okay? I'll give you an example. At one point, I made a post, and I almost took it down when I discovered this, but I decided to leave it up because so many people commented on it or sent me messages. At one point, I made a post about how I threw away a bunch of awards. I threw away a bunch of awards because most of those awards were fraught with bad energy. So they were like awards where I won runner-up for this thing, but people treated me like dirt when I got there, and they didn't let me have the benefits of what I earned and what I should have had for being the runner-up. Or some of the things from places, like I've had some jobs that loved me, I had some jobs that the bosses couldn't stand me. And in each one of them, they give you a placard that says goodbye and well wishes. Well, I threw away the ones from the people that didn't like me, and the ones where people were like, well, it's been real. I'm not going to pretend it's been real fun having you here, you know? So I threw those out. Okay. Well, I had forgotten about it. And the director over one of those things was really mad at me. And because the director of one of those things was really mad at me, everybody under them was really mad at me. And I had forgotten about it. For me, it was very cathartic. Very cathartic. Cathartic. It means it cuts off the negative. And it's just, you cut off the negative, and now you have your blood flows only going to the positive, and it helps you heal. Okay? So for me, it was very cathartic. But for them, it was very offensive. Will nobody come back and say, hey, you might want to take that down? This was like years ago. Nobody comes back and says, hey, you want to take it down? And so I find that people have this cold shoulder to me. I'm going to these meetings. I don't understand what's going on. So I ask somebody because I have a desire, and really it's just in me. I want to understand. If I did something to offend you, I want to understand. Now, I am of the opinion, this is just me, that if you don't want me to talk about the wrong you did to me, you probably shouldn't do that wrong in public. You, if you didn't, I don't want this to be about my church, but those are the examples that are coming to my mind. If you didn't want me to talk about how irritated I was that you got up at the pulpit of Bishop White's anniversary and talked about me and ministered to me about sleeping around, which was not something I was doing, you probably ought not have done that in that capacity because you did it in front of everybody. So I'm going to talk about it in front of everybody because my reputation was already damaged in front of everybody, you know? So, but I have a need to understand. And so when something doesn't seem right and I don't understand why, I want to seek out and find out. I think it's the scientist part of me that the Lord created me with that kind of mindset. I like to investigate. I like to find out what's going on. And that's very closely related to the other one that I'm combining. What is this? Hold on. My next client's not till 2. Look, I already done missed one really good client out walking and forgetting that I had a client. We are making that mistake again. She's a good client. She's made great changes in her financial life, and she's on her way to financial independence. And I'm so proud of her. I don't want to lose good clients. Okay, anyway. I have a need to understand. I want to understand what's going on. I want to understand. It doesn't mean I'm going to change. You know, it doesn't mean I'm going to not have thrown those things away. I might not have posted about it the way I did, you know. And the way I feel about it is, once people done screenshotted it and sent it all around, unless it's something immoral or it's something you didn't actually mean to post, there's no sense in taking it down because it's already been spread around the world, right? But like one time I was typing thank you to somebody and I'd have no idea why, but as I typed thank, the auto text, good morning, ladies. The auto text come up and it popped out with this long phrase about Allah. And I'm like, I don't serve Allah. I serve Jesus Christ. And I was rebuking the Facebook. Like, why would it put this up to tag whatever this long thing was actually like a group or a profile, this long sentence that was praising Allah. I'm like, I don't serve Allah. I have not been to any website that would make Facebook think I have serving this other God. I serve God the Father, the Lord God Almighty, who created the heaven and the earth, who has a son named Jesus. And when we accept Jesus as our Lord and Savior, when we accept his substitutionary death on the cross, he fills us with his Holy Spirit. That's the God I serve. It's not even the same God as most of the Christians out there. Because most of the Christians out there, they feel like their God doesn't have a Holy Spirit that teaches and leads them and guides them in all things. They feel like they can say that, call themselves by the name of Jesus, but then still say things like, the devil made me do it. I'm sorry. When I became part of the kingdom of God, the devil stopped making me do anything. That's a whole nother word right there. But getting back to it, if I had not caught that, and if I had typed thank you in my head, but it changed it to that, well then, yeah, I would take that dip. Because that's not who I am. That's not representative of me. It's not something I intended to say. And being a holiness pastor could give people the wrong impression. So, but for the most part, I just left it. But I have a need to understand. And then closely intertwined with that is people who strive for truth. So for some of us, we have a need to understand. We want to understand. Some of us really don't care. And I have had to learn over the years of my adulthood, I have had to learn that it's okay that some people don't care. You can't have the whole world care about all the same things. If everybody was like me, the world would not necessarily be a pleasant place. And before you laugh too hard, if the whole world was like you, it wouldn't necessarily be a pleasant place either. If the whole world was like my little one, who just loves to have fun and forgets to follow through and doesn't remember the promises he made because he's too busy having fun, the world might be a lot more fun, but wouldn't nothing get done, right? In my sense, usually that tree's the 3 mile, or the 1.5 mile part. So I'm gonna turn around now. But in another sense, I'm a hard driver. I like to get things done. My idea of fun is accomplishing a mission. My idea of fun is setting up and doing some good in the community. You know, that's my idea of fun. If the whole world were like me, we get a lot done, but nobody would have fun. So you need all kinds, right? All right. Wait. I can take it even further. Let me give you one more. Can I give you one more? Can I just give you one more? Okay. The whole world could be like my husband. My husband is a high C. The high C type in the disc scale. Excuse me. The high C type. Wait, let me wait for this to be done. So I'm what would be called a high D. My little one is what would be called a high I. And my husband is what would be called a high C. The high C is a very conscientious, very analytical. They value being right. I value getting stuff done. My little guy, he values having a good time, and he values relationships and the fun that comes along with all that. He values being accepted, right? I value getting stuff done. My husband's personality type, most people in that group, they value being right. So that's why they take a long time to make a decision, because me, I'll make a snap decision. And 20% of the time, it's like an 80-20 rule thing, right? Like 20% of the time, I'm probably going to be wrong. But I get so much done with the 80% of the time I'm right, I'm okay with the 20% of the time I'm wrong. I just come on the video and tell you I was wrong. No big deal. But my husband's personality type, and this is actually probably was my personality type when I was a physics major at the Air Force Academy. My personality type back then was more of a high C style. And I could never make any decisions because I wanted to be right. I did not want to make any decision and be wrong. I wanted to analyze. And I was convinced that if you just had enough data, you could always make the right decision. As a consequence, my husband, he is very rarely wrong. He is very rarely wrong. It's no fun to argue with somebody who's very rarely wrong. It's fun to argue with my little one because you can get him tied up because he's not paying attention to the details. He just wants to have a good time. So, but it's not fun It's not fun to argue with somebody who's always right. Because we're right, right? But if the whole world were filled with people whose highest value is being right, yeah, everything would be correct, but we wouldn't be having a whole lot of fun. And quite frankly, we wouldn't be getting a whole lot done because it takes too much time and effort sometimes to make the right decision. And life has a lot of problems that don't come with a right decision. You have the best of two crummy choices. You have the best of three okay choices. You have this choice is good, but it has these other consequences. And that choice is not so good, but everybody's happier. Which one do you pick? Depends on the situation, right? Depends on your gut level as a leader. It depends on what is your ultimate goal? A lot of things, okay? So anyway, in my personality style, though, I greatly value truth. And so that's why these hit me so hard. The fact that a lot of abusers go after people with a high moral compass, a lot of abusers go after people with a high need to understand, and people who strive for truth. Why would they go after people who strive for truth and have a high need to understand? Because the first time you step on my shoes, and I'm using me as opposed to the people whose stories I read about because I identify with these comments. First time you step on my shoes, I don't realize you've done it on purpose. Now you step on my shoes a second time, that's a coincidence. You step on my shoes a third time, now we have a trend. 1 point, 2 points makes a coincidence. 3 points, now we got a trend line. You are a person who steps on people's shoes. But because I have a need to understand, I'm going to ask questions like, did you not see that my foot was there? Hey, did you realize that that's my foot, not the table? I'm going to ask questions because I want to understand what just happened here. How on earth did this person, who I thought was amazing, step on my shoes, right? And then, because you have a need to understand and you seek truth, and because you have a high moral compass, you don't want to cast somebody aside for stepping on your shoe because, maybe they took some medicine and that medicine is making them dizzy. I got to understand first. I need to know. And while they're treating you bad and you keep trying to know and you keep trying to understand and you keep trying to answer questions, in the back of their mind, they're like, ha, 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 she's so dumb, she should have left. Ha, 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 they're so dumb, they should have quit. Ha, 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 they're so dumb, I can't believe they're doing all my work for me, So that really hit me hard. I was like, ooh, I kind of resemble that remark, okay? This is the third one of the 1-2 punch. Because again, I combined the seeking truth with the need to understand. This one really just made me sad. Like, I literally shed tears over this. Because this is, if anybody knows me, I support the underdog. And this other trait, I don't know what number we're on right now, but this trait of the people that find themselves being abused, or that not find themselves being abused, because you don't have to find yourself being abused just because you have these traits, but a very strong trait in the matrix of traits that abusers look for. They look for somebody who really supports and champions and wants to help the underdog. In my military career, I belong to a social and economic and gender class that was not wanted in the Air Force when I first joined the Air Force. And people can say, oh, you make everything about race. But I was literally told to my face that blacks can't do physics and you can't declare your major. Like, I literally had to fight for the right to be the number 5 physics graduate at the Air Force Academy and the number 1 space physics graduate at the Air Force Academy. Because those people believed that people who looked like me, and especially combine that with being a woman, those people believed that I couldn't do it. I couldn't hack the math. I didn't do it. Graduated, not only was I the number 1 space physics grad, and I was the number 5 total physics grad of the whole department, but I was the president of the physics and astronomy club. And I did some things in my military career that people who looked like me at the time that I came into the military weren't supposed to be able to do because of the prevailing culture that believed that people who looked like me and had my gender couldn't do them. So when I say it's important to me to support the underdog, one of the things that I took greatly to heart when I first became, and it's my entire military career, from the moment I first became a branch chief, as a captain, as a newly minted captain in the United States Air Force, the very first thing, the very first battle I had to fight was people painting somebody who came to my office as an outcast from another office, as a discard from another office. And he had gotten into some trouble with one of his colleagues. They were running an equipment scan, and they were right to get them in trouble for it. You know, a lot of people were running equipment scans. Oops, we lost this equipment, and then they sell it and make profit. And, but the guy did fantastic work for me. And the 06, the commander of that outfit, the full bird colonel, he wanted me to write on the guy's next evaluation that this guy was doing all these things again. And I was like, I have no evidence that this guy has done all these things. You have shown me no evidence. I have no idea. If you know it and I'm not allowed to know it, you put it in your section. I'll write it to be in your section and you can sign off on it. Okay, so I had so many mentors tell me, Captain, you need to learn to choose your battles. And trust me, this kid is not your battle. And I was like, I'm going to be honest, integrity first, service above self, and excellence in all we do. Those are our core values in the United States Air Force. And so if those are our core values in the United States Air Force, you're either going to show me proof that this kid is doing something he shouldn't be doing, or I'm going to evaluate him based on the outstanding work that he did. You know, I took over this exercises and deployments branch, and I found out we had all these deployment billets because our scientific agency had just been subsumed by Air Combat Command, and they always deploy people, and they're sending people over here and sending people over there. Well, we had all these packages of peoples that we were supposed to send out if called upon, and we were supposed to have like 60 or so gas masks and things like that on deck to send them with, and we were supposed to have this equipment, and we were supposed to have that training. Y'all, we had none of it. We had none of it. I went to Korea with nothing. I had a dummy bag that I carried around, and then I had a waiver letter that says, hey, we don't have the supplies. And so it made it look like it was a one-off. But like out of the 60 that we were supposed to have, we had like 12. And this young man not only helped me get the life-saving equipment that these people deserve to have, that our fighting airmen and others that were joint serviced with us, the gas mask that they were supposed to have, if they were supposed to have flak vests, the flak vests they were supposed to have, the training they were supposed to have. Like how you send people to the desert and they don't have training. And then this young man helped me put in place policies to help track people, because we were sending people to the desert and they were getting lost in the system. Now, I will note that a lot of the people who got lost were your very, very difficult lieutenant colonels and majors who thought they were God's gift to the Air Force and made life miserable for the people who were administrating their deployment. So I'm not saying they didn't have it coming, but I am saying, as the chief of the exercises and deployments branch, who already had something to prove, because I told you all, if you were on a few minutes ago, I was in this Air Force during a time when people didn't think that women, especially women who looked like me, had the capacity to do these kinds of things. And I thought it was just random. I just got the luck of the draw. I got the misogynist boss, you know? But actually, now that I'm in my doctoral program, there's actually research that came out in 1991 that actually said this. Okay? So for me, I did some stuff, and I made some things better, and I took care of people. And this young man helped me do that. And what I told the boss, who the boss himself was a member of a marginalized community. That's what made it so bad. It was just like, but he was convinced he was about to put on his star, his next rank. So he wasn't going to do anything to walk the boat, including sign off that this kid was back into his old shenanigans. But because that was my foundation coming in, and I know I lost a bunch of people when I started talking about race, and then they came back, and then I lost them again. And I'm going to get off of that for a second, but I need you to understand, one of the reasons why I support the underdog, and one of the reasons why I'm a champion of those who don't have a voice, is because I've been through it, and somebody championed me, and somebody supported me, and somebody opened a door for me. That otherwise, that it wasn't my performance that didn't get me through. It wasn't my walky personality. I mean, I would have understood that. But when the boss tells you the sole reason they're not putting you in that job is because you're a black female, and I do respect that person. If you're watching, I don't think you would ever watch my videos, but if you do, I do respect you for telling me that to my face. Because at least then I stopped trying. And I know some of you would have fought for it, but I was like, no, if they don't want me, they don't want me. And they ended up getting into a better job, so it worked out. But somebody opened the door for me. And I'm always going to open the door. And when they were trying to kick me out of the Air Force Academy for something I didn't do, I won't name his name, but General so-and-so took a chance and supported me and flicked those boogers away so that I could graduate from the Air Force Academy and go on to do great things for our nation. Things you probably never heard about. You wouldn't even believe me if I told you I did them. But I did great things for our nation, and I helped keep our nation secure, and I helped keep our nation safe. And some of what I did is still implemented today. Okay? So, but somebody had to do that. And so when I see injustice, I have everything in me wants to do that for the next person. And that guy, that young man, he did end up getting put out of the Air Force for whatever it was they said he was doing. But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if he did it or not. I just know they kept trying to get me to write that he did something that I had no proof that he did. And when I challenged them on it, it hit my career. It didn't last long. The hits in my career didn't last long. Most physicists at that time, they retired as captains and maybe made major. I made lieutenant colonel, so it didn't hurt me that bad. But I'm always going to champion the underdog. And so when I read that this personality type is like high on the list of traits that an abuser looks for when they are looking for their next victim. Hey, girl. When they're looking for their next victim, that really hit me hard, and it really stuck with me. I was like, wow, I'm in half this list. Well, I mean, really all of it, because I do care about people. I'm compassionate. I know people don't always think that. I am compassionate. I just don't give you money, because me and giving money just don't work well. I give money to organizations, and I support causes, and I give money to the Lord. And when he tells me to give money, I give it. But he and I have an agreement. And that agreement is, you ask me for money, I already know the Lord didn't tell you to do that. Because he and I have an agreement. Anybody who asks me for money is not somebody he wants me to give money to. When he wants me to give money, or he wants me to give resources, or he wants me to bless somebody, he will tell me. They won't ask. And so anytime someone starts giving me their sob story, you know, how nothing's working out, and I just need a break, and I just need this, and I just need that, and, you know, you can tell they're warming up to ask you about money. I'm like, I know exactly how you feel, and I'm going to pray that the Lord place it on somebody's heart to open the door for you, or to send you some money, or do something. Let the Lord do for you what the Lord has done through me. And me and the Lord have this agreement, and I know that there's others out there sitting on vast resources, and they have that agreement with the Lord too. And I'm going to pray that the right person's heart gets touched and opens up and pours you out a blessing you have no room to receive. And the look on their face, yep. So anyway, some other things on that list which, excellent listener, I'm not. I don't think anybody in their mind has, no, I won't say that, because I do get the comment that people have enjoyed me listening to them. Usually it's with an element of surprise, like, wow, this was a really enriching conversation, or wow, I really needed to hear that, or, you know, I don't want that to be like the exception, like people are expecting, but I get that a lot. People expect me to be one way, and then I'm another way. And the way they're expecting me to be is actually not very good. Let me just make sure I'm not getting hit here and cross the road safely. The way that people expect me to be is like not very nice. It's not very good, very vain. Well, I am a little vain. Very arrogant. Yeah, a little bit of that too. Very uncaring, very concerned about brands and things, and I could care less about brands, y'all. I really could care less. I'm trying to learn to care more because I know it matters to people, but I just don't care. Like if you're, I was at a conference once and the lady's like, it's a shame that more women can't afford an $1,800 handbag. And I looked at that handbag and I was like, it ain't that people can't afford that handbag. That handbag is ugly. And with them wheels on it, it's heavy. So it's a handbag that you can roll. Great concept. But to make the concept, you had to make it so heavy that you practically have to roll it once you put something in it. And it's got wheels on it, so it doesn't look good on you when you're just walking with it. Like, I was just like, you're not going to manipulate me. Okay, anyway. But let me go back to supporting the underdog. The reason that this is important to an abuser, that they find people who support the underdog, is because a big part of what the abuser does is play that violin of nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, nobody supports me, you're the only one that cares about me, you're the only one that sees my potential, you're the only one I can trust, and I know with you at my side I can do better, and your heartstrings are tugged. And sometimes those sob stories are true, but they're manipulations at the same time, you know? Like, it could be a sob story that this door closed on that person, and that door closed on that person. Whenever I think of this, I always think of this. This happened a while ago. Somebody went up for prayer. They went up for prayer about being persecuted at work. And I thought to myself, if you act at work the way you act at church, that ain't persecution. That's quiet firing, because you a mean girl, and you don't do what people need done. You do what you want done, and you tell everybody how they're wrong. Don't nobody want to work with somebody like that. And let me tell you, I may never have been a mean girl, but I've certainly been one in the past who thought my role in a new job was to come in and find all the things y'all doing wrong so I can help you fix it. It really is. Somebody's like, you have a very critical, you're very critical, you're very negative. It's like a superpower. You can see everything that's wrong. I'm like, I know. I get paid good money to do that. You know, I thank the Lord for that. You know, I get paid good money to show you why you haven't done better with your finances or why your business isn't growing. You know? But I just never think to myself, you know, it ain't persecution if you're the one going around making everybody mad. They trying to get rid of you, but you're doing your job, so they can't. And I've been, look, before I understood as a scientist, before I understood how important it is in getting along, how important those relationships are in a position, I will admit I was that person too. I wasn't a mean girl though. In fact, if I was a mean girl, I probably would have had more respect, to be honest with you. But the reason, so if that person says they're persecuting me on my job and they're stealing credit for my work and they won't let me on their projects, those things could be true. And the abuser, the narcissist, the predator, they come and tell you the true parts. But what they don't tell you is all the stuff they did, you know? They don't tell you all the stuff that they did behind the scenes, how they took advantage of people, and people have a bad taste in their mouth about this person. And that they did this and they did that and they said this and they said that. They don't tell you that part. And in fact, when too many people in a location find out about that part, they move somewhere else so that they can start all over again with a whole new crop. Okay? So I'm running low on battery. I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk about what to do about all this. I'm going to try to get as much in as I can before my phone dies, okay? When my phone dies, I'm still about 2 miles away from, no, actually I'm about 3/4 of a mile away from my car. It'll be a while before I can charge it back up and finish. So real quick, I want to say, if you, like me, tick off a lot of those categories, you know, oh, pretty red words. Oh, they're so pretty. See if I can see them. See, they don't look red on here. Anyway, I interrupted myself because the thingy went off in my ear to tell me how far I've walked, and I don't know how much of that you guys can hear. Sometimes y'all can, and sometimes you can't. But if you find, like me, that you resemble a lot of those remarks, you value loving people and being loved, you're caring, you're compassionate to some extent, or to a lot of extent, probably a lot more than me. I care, and I am compassionate. But because I know a lot of people are abusers, my compassion usually stays in here, unless the Lord tells me to pour it out, because of life, right? But if you have a high moral compass, if you have a need to understand what's going on and why this happened and why that happened and why this person did this and what's going on at home, if you have that high need, if you have a need or if you have a desire to seek truth, if that's important to you to seek the truth of the matter, if you are a person who supports the underdog, right? If you are a person who who champions those who've had issues and you want to help them succeed and you want to help them turn their life around, if you're a person who people say is a good listener, all of those things are check boxes on the abuser's traits, list of traits for their next victim. So if that's you, what can you do about it? I don't want you to change who you are. I want you to keep being who you are. I don't want you to be a mean, curmudgeonly person. We need more loving, compassionate, kind people, decent people. We need more of that in this world. And there are some things that you can do. And one of those is to have very strong boundaries. And I like the way Maya Angelou said it. She said once that when people show you who they are, believe them the first time. And when you see the untoward behavior, believe it the first time, okay? But also, when you meet somebody new, early into the relationship, I know some of you aren't going to like this because as a rule, we don't like conflict. I don't mind a little conflict because before I make you my running buddy or do business with you, I want to know what you're made of. So I used to do this anyway without realizing what I was doing. But if you have a new contact, a new relationship, a new somebody, introduce some conflict and see how they respond, okay? So when they ask you, can you help me here? Tell them no and see what they do, okay? If they ask you, hey, can you go look, and I've had guys do this, like, if y'all haven't read my book, 40 Dates in 4 Months, I went on like 50 dates one summer, but 50 didn't work for the title. We used 40. And all of them weren't good dates to use. So we used 40. But in my book, I talk about all these guys I went out with. And some of them would ask me the craziest things. Like we went out one time, and they would ask me to, like, can I go find them this esoteric, random, one-of-a-kind, eclectic thing from blah, 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 store, you know? And I only did it one time. And I remember going through the store, and I couldn't find what it was. And I was about to text him and say I couldn't find what it was when the Spirit stopped me and said, why were you even looking for that in the first place? This guy isn't even a friend. You just wasted 2 hours trying to find this random thing for somebody who isn't even a friend. Well, you know, for those of you who haven't read the book, I got dumped in a really bad way, publicly, in a forum called Single Peeps on MyFitnessPal. Y'all, it was the worst. And it's still out there. That's the worst part. Like, the guy got married and moved on, didn't even have the decency to take the post down. But if he does, I have screenshots of it. But I got called out publicly and was basically, they said I was gap filler and just something until the real thing came along. And I had something to prove. But you know what? Me having something to prove me being a kind, compassionate person, me being a caring person, all those kinds of things went in together. And I wasted 2 hours of what I already didn't really have as a military single mom trying to find this thing for this guy. And then when I texted him and said, well, I'm sorry, I looked, but I couldn't find it, he was like, that's okay. They haven't come out yet. He knew that it wasn't to be found. He just wanted to see how much effort would I put into looking for it. Because he knew that I was going to that store. I don't know if I had texted him I was at the store, but he knew I had spent 2 hours looking for that for him. Ding, 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 ding. So when somebody asks you something unreasonable, a new acquaintance asks you something unreasonable, tell them no. Even if they're not asking you anything unreasonable, tell them no. I had a guy one time, we were at a restaurant. I actually dated this guy for a while. Or rather, I thought we were dating. He didn't think we were dating. I thought we were dating. That's when I learned, unless the guy says that we're dating, we're not dating. Now it could just be the other way around too. But unless both parties have the conversation that you are exclusively dating, let me say it that way. Let's take gender out of it. Unless both parties have the conversation that you are exclusively dating, you are not exclusively dating. And so I learned that with this guy. When we're out to eat, we've been going out for a couple months, and we went to this restaurant that served the little straws, the little onion straws. And so they're hard to eat. They're all stringy, and they're coated, and they're kind of greasy. So what I do is I ball them up and then eat them like a little fried onion ball. So I get a couple, ball them up, and eat them, right? And he looked at me, and he said, are you going to do that all night? And I was like, I am, unless this date ends, right? And I'm not normally very quick on the snappy comebacks, y'all. That's not my thing. But I had already been in cases where people had said nasty things about me not drinking, or nasty things about me not wanting to eat this or that or the other. So my hackles were already raised at that point. And I was just like, yeah. But in the past, and some of you watching me today, if a guy said something like that, you wouldn't make a quippy comeback and assert your rights to eat your food the way you want to eat it. You would put the ball down and just quietly either find another way to eat it that's acceptable to him or not eat it at all because he done criticized you. And so, I think it's important for us to understand that some of us have these traits that are absolutely attractive and delicious to others who want to prey upon others. And so we have to make sure that we put some boundaries in place. And that when people treat us bad, we don't go back to, oh, but they were so nice for the 6 months that I first knew them. No, this is who they really are. The mask is coming off. And when they do something like that, you hold them accountable. And you decide whether or not you're going to give them another chance based on circumstances and stuff. But I'm going to tell you right now, you live a lifetime with somebody who starts off lying to you about every little thing when you're dating. That's not going to end well. That's not going to end well. You start off a relationship and you give away so much of who you are, not give away like talking about the bedroom or anything, although I have found if you want to avoid getting preyed upon in the dating world, no bedroom and no money. Don't let them in your bedroom. Don't give them any money. Don't let her in your bedroom. Don't give her any money. They're going to cut out like 99% of all the scamsters right there. Okay. But I mean like giving who we are away. Like this person criticized how I ate the onion balls. I could have been like, well, I'm never going to do that again. Well, I like fried onions, and I don't know another way. I don't know a better way to eat them. It's palatable to me. You try to cut them things, all the stuff falls off of them, and then you just got soggy onions. I don't want soggy onions. I want the onions with the crunch. I want it all in one lovely bite, and I'm allowed to. I am allowed to, and so are you. Whatever it is, you care about your health, but the person you're with keeps wanting you to eat and drink something that's not good for your health. You have to ask yourself why. Why is that person being like this? If they say they care about me, or if they're thinking about a potential relationship with me, and they want to, they're thinking about dating me. I'm thinking about dating them. The whole point of dating is evaluating each other. Do you want this for the rest of your life? Well, we say, okay, it's okay, hee hee hee, ha ha ha. And then the next day it's something else. And the next day it's something else. And the next day it's something else. And before you know it, now you are a whole different person, and you look in the mirror and you don't like who you are and what you've become, and you don't even know how you got there. One of the things you can do to prevent getting there is to put in those strong boundaries in the beginning, okay? I'm JJ Conway. Thanks for y'all for being on as I did my 3 miles today. I appreciate you. I hope that was helpful for you. I hope that you can use that. I would love to know if you can use that. I would love to know. If there's parts of the video where my sound quality wasn't good, I'd love to know that too. I do try to listen to them all before we repost them on YouTube, but sometimes I miss something. And so, again, any feedback you can give me, I really would appreciate it. And I, again, appreciate you. I feel like our time is our most valuable resource, and I don't take it lightly that you spend your time with me on these videos. You've given me the highest form of praise by spending your time with me when you could be doing something else, by spending your money with me when you could be buying products for somebody else, by taking my advice or what I feel like the Lord is leading me to give you when you could be learning from somebody else. So I appreciate you. Much love. Y'all take